What? Okay,
I was
tell
like
me.
this.
And what did he do?
He grabbed me like right here.
You're in the corner. So you mean to tell me he took his hands and he put them on you like this and began to choke you? Is that what I'm understanding? And what were you doing?
Waiting for it to be over.
Brother, I'm serving you. Go get your suitcase and pack. I will not be in a house with a man who puts his hands on a woman. Literally. Go get your suitcase, get you some clothes, because you can't be here. You can't be.
Why does he have to leave his own house? You know, in what world does she had authority to make this man leave his own house and whatnot? There was a possibility of danger. Why not have a sheriff's deputy serve him? That's their purpose. One of them anyway, besides supposedly protecting the public. But why does he have to leave his house? All right? Why doesn't Ayana, uh, you know, take the woman into another room and pack her a bag and, put her up and shit, with some of that mad money from the Oprah Winfrey Network. But, this guy has to leave his home and shit. After Ayana served him, and you didn't see anybody there, like a, an authorized peace officer and shit, which would normally be the case if this guy was actually dangerous. This is a, black female misandrist propaganda. I can't call it feminism and shit. It's simply propaganda and shit. I want to move beyond saying this is feminism and shit. This is a form of virulent hate rhetoric that has all but destroyed this community and shit. And I mean that in the direst sense, of the word and shit, okay? The term. Excuse me for my lack of clarity and shit. It's early in the morning. I'm recording this. But yeah, I'm looking at this shit and you see Ayana in this man's house, and it's already being disrespectful by not speaking to him in a manner that suggests that she sees him as an adult and whatnot. They infantilize black men. Misandrists do that, and when I did this, the greatest failing and shit that they do this because those of us who are self-aware can't see what they're doing and whatnot. And we usually, most black men just tolerate the shortcomings of women and shit as far as interpersonal and social behavior shit. Even on the egregious side of things, we discount that shit. We just deal with it and shit because that's the way we've been trained, because we've been indoctrinated and socially engineered to do so. Right? We've been socially engineered to carry several millstones on our back while being beat about the head with a switch. Okay? And I know this is propaganda. I know it's propaganda. Even when I'm looking at the woman, I'm looking at her face. She doesn't read as a victim. She does not read as a victim or whatnot. She reads as an instigator to me or whatnot. You see the guy, he looks fed up. He looks fed up and whatnot. He's not even going for the okie doke. He probably, somebody probably hipped him to the game and shit, so he decided to just hold his peace and, I guess go with the flow. I didn't watch what else happened, and I don't feel it's necessary, but I do want to say that I feel like the black woman in this clip, the supposed wife, is an aggressor or whatnot. I think she's initiating emotional abuse and violence and whatnot. Their domain is the mind and the heart. Okay, I want to make a blanket statement to say that's the way women attack you, but in our community, a lot of these misandrous, evil, misandrous black women, these terrorists and shit, spiritual terrorists, if anything, they try to flip the script. They try to what I call the mind fuck game and shit. You used to have this thing called the knockout game that they used to talk about all the time. In our community for our men, the kings here and the princes. A lot of it is just like really virulent, negative social engineering and whatnot, where they get to speak to you in a disparaging tone and infantilize you while disrespecting you and taking everything you have. including your freedom and most times your life. It's a goddamn shame and shit. I didn't believe a goddamn thing that woman said about this man choking her and shit. Okay, she's a big old chick, and she don't look like she for the shits. And so if he tried that, there's probably be a knife going into his kidney or something. You know, she'll probably stab him or try to throw hands with him and shit. Even if she loses, she knows she wins because once the police are weaponized to come to the house, they just take this guy down in a hell of gunfire or just club him to death or drag him to jail, right? And he knows that too. That's why he has that look on his face. I've seen that look. He's frustrated out of his mind and shit. When Ayana was fucking with him, he probably felt like flipping a table in the room and just going on a tear. And he knew better than to do that shit because they'll have their phones out in a minute and they're already filming the shit. The whole idea and this propaganda network and shit, the Oprah Winfrey network, supposed network and shit. She was just a front woman for that, getting a check from a larger organization, by the way. The whole idea is to propagate negative imagery of black men and how they deal with things in relationships, how they deal with things as a head of a household, supposed head of a household, because we know men of the house in our supposed ethnic community is a ceremonial position, okay? Black woman is in charge of everything in our communities and shit. You see the condition that they're in and whatnot, man. Don't get mad because, it hit dog collars and shit, but we had to call a spade a spade. For decades we've been listening to you motherfuckers say you're the mother and the father and shit. So if that's true, and it's also true that you are the most educated, you start the most businesses, you're the most entrepreneurial, then why is the community in the state that it is today? And I'll die on that hill beating that dead horse to death, to a second death, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. Alright? Just want you guys to see this clip. I understand the okie doke shit. Don't fall for that shit. Okay? You don't have to. He doesn't have to leave his house and shit. Police officers and sheriffs, they would serve him and they would give him a protection order on the spot and post up there while he packs a bag and shit. So since that didn't seem to be the case, Diana's serving him himself. He shouldn't feel the need to acquiesce to her supposed wishes and the wishes of his very smug looking wife. She's like very smug. Once he leaves that house, she's gonna change those locks and then she's gonna go down to the courthouse and file a divorce and say that he abandoned the home and shit, and that's gonna give her more leverage to steal your tangibles, your property, everything else, besides your children and your future. She's gonna shit on your bloodline. She's gonna kill your bloodline. That's what this does. This behavior and your lack, or you don't have the will to deal with these things head on as a man. Then you're gonna be left like with nothing but your underwear on and some socks and luckily a pair of shoes, maybe. Okay. The whole idea is to strip your tangibles and make you insolvent, other than being a living commodity. Okay. You're gonna work for the rest of your fucking days. You're gonna work 1 or 2 jobs, depending on what the child support order is and what the alimony is and shit. That's slavery. Okay? That's slavery. That's in supposed indentured servitude and whatnot. And then, these women are socially engineered to be agents of chaos and shit, so she's not gonna want you to move on and develop further and shit. It's not about making you a better person and shit if they really, if they go in this narrative shit. It's about breaking you down. It's about destroying your ass and shit, mentally and spiritually. Shit. You can't allow that to happen. One of the ways, simplest ways you can allow that, you can stop that from happening, is to be completely transparent and honest with the people you're dealing with. Tell them how they feel. Like, tell this big ham bone chick that she's getting on my motherfucking nerves, and I'm gonna get a divorce, and we just gonna divvy up all the bullshit, and I'm gonna get to walking. And then I'm gonna call my attorney and have them file like order. Well, she can only communicate with me via a court-ordered app on the phone. And keep it like that. And make sure that if you have children with a woman like this, that they are compelled by the court to do child drop-offs at a police station and shit. Make sure you keep renewing that, okay? Because they can't have any control. They don't want to be with you. They want to fuck you up. And they want to have control of your life and destroy you. And you can stop that by simply being transparent and honest and shit, and crossing your T's and dotting, the I's and everything. I have absolutely no faith in anything this woman, Ayana woman, has ever said and shit. And I find it egregious that she would take a blue black out of some bag and shit and slap it down in his palm and tell him he has to leave his home and shit. That he has to pack a bag and leave. Say, no, I'm not doing shit. Wait, it's a peace officer and whatnot. As a matter of fact, somebody should tell Ayana when she went and pulled that bag out and put her hand in and whatnot. What if that guy thought that was a threat and had a weapon, a handgun or something on, had some sort of weapon, and he unloaded that shit in her fucking face? It's all bullshit. Okay, this is propaganda. She ain't gonna be doing that shit. There's cameras and everything filming her there. She has litigation to think about. So most likely, most often than not, what we're looking at is crisis actors and shit, but they serve a teachable moment, irregardless. Okay. Irregardless, you can look at the smug look on this woman's face, the supposed wife's face, and it tells you everything you need to know. Anybody who's done any kind of people watching or had any kind of service job and shit can look at someone and tell what's going on in their fucking face and shit. And, my considerable experience in that regard leads me to believe that this woman is responsible for over 70% of this discord in that house or whatnot. Men have simple needs and wants and whatnot. This is a big chubby brother, and she's a fat chick, and they probably live a sedentary lifestyle, eating bullshit around and do them and shit. Probably grown apart. Maybe every now and then gets laid with her or something. He's so lucky, I guess. But really they're just drifted apart and shit, and they should end things. And it's not up to her, because women like to leave their emotions. It's up to him to take the steps to go and file for divorce. File for separation and divorce, and start divvying that shit up. Maybe if she's not so, maybe she has a side guy or something that she thinks is a better deal. Maybe she'll be more amenable to an equitable division of assets. Okay, maybe, but not likely. Usually, women they want to take everything you have, everything, and they want to destroy your peace and your happiness in perpetuity. Okay, that's the way they're trained from childhood. That you owe them and shit. Their box is the end all be all in this entire community and shit. And there's consequences, checks and balances, nuclear checks and balances if you don't pan out shit. So she's gonna want to have all your shit, and she's gonna have dominance over your shit. It's sad and pathetic and shit. The number of women in our community that feel this way and shit. And the only solution is for you to be unapologetically masculine and shit. Which is why, besides me saying, fuck you, Ayana, shit, Ayana, whatever the fuck your name is, I'm not gonna say your whole title, whatever that shit is. I'm gonna say fuck you, and I think I would give a better advice than Ayana and shit. Okay, all right, give better advice. So that being said, we'll do it. All right, we need to in this instance, this video. All right, Kings. And you stay to the end, alright? Gotta do the rules, man. Okay, we gotta keep repeating this shit to ourselves if nothing else and shit, so that we adhere to this unconsciously and shit. Some way you save yourself, okay, black men? Alright. Keep your head on the swivel, protect your bag, and above all else, and most importantly, I can't stress this enough, especially when you look at the smug expression on this wife's, when I put that in quotation marks, look at the smug, nasty, narcissistic expression on her face and shit. Then you juxtapose that with the look on this guy's face. He's just fed up with her ass. He's fed up and he don't even care no more and shit. Okay, he's checked out. If they don't both have side people and shit, I guarantee you this guy's watching shitload of adult materials to pleasure himself and shit when he should feel the need to do so. While she's probably got a guy hidden and waiting for him to leave and go to work so he can come in there and sit up with his shoes off and play the man's game system or something. So that was long-winded. Anyway, last and definitely not least, do not make fallen women. Evil, malignant, narcissistic, misandrous women stewards of your Stewards of your family, okay? That shit is important. I can't stress how important that is. Do not make fallen women stewards of your family, and especially, and last but not least, but the most important, do not make fallen women the mothers of your children, okay? Your children are your future. They're your legacy. Shit. You can't leave that. You can't leave that responsibility in the hands of just anyone, okay, Kings? I would tell you this if I didn't love you and care about you enough to actually make this goddamn video, put it out, irregardless of who sees it and what quantity or numbers. Okay? I want you to know I love you, and I don't want you to follow any trails that me and my brotherhood have gone through prior to you reaching the age of consent. Okay? Right? I want you to be able to make informed, you know, decisions and choices in life and shit. To see things for what they are and shit, and not for what someone would have you believe and shit. Don't fall for the illusion and shit. See life as it really is and live your best life and shit. I love you, okay? Alright? I love you. I don't want anything to happen, gentlemen out there, okay? Alright? No matter what our differences would be, or if we would ever come to blows or have some virulent disagreement and shit. Know that, I propagate black on black brotherhood and love and shit through the tenets of SYSBF, which means save yourself, black man, okay? Plain and simple. Alright? And you go in peace and whatever religion or God you worship, okay? Now you stay up, guys, alright? You take care. All praise to the Most High.
Sick and tired of getting on this app and just seeing us spew hatred.
A kid gets bullied for 4 years, all 4 years of high school. Get to graduation, and the bully approaches the kid for one final punch. Bully rears back, and before he can get the punch off, the other kid, right in the face, knocks him out. Bunch of students rush over. The bully comes to, and the kids say to both of them, "I just hate seeing us fight. We need to do better. I'm so sick and tired." And the kid that knocked the bully out is saying, "Where have y'all been for 4 years? This is the first punch I've thrown in years." Likewise, ladies, you have bullied black men for decades. And finally, black men have stood our ground, amplified our voice, and pushed back. And now you want to talk about how sick and tired of you are about us and we and this hate. It's a you problem.